Keanu Reeves had always been a man of few words. Even in Hollywood, a place known for its endless chatter and flashing cameras, he had managed to maintain an air of quiet mystery. Fans loved him not just for his movies, but because he seemed real, kind, and unpretentious. He was the kind of celebrity who didn't chase the spotlight, but somehow always stayed in it. It was that very nature of his calm and thoughtful way of speaking, that made the news of him talking about Matthew Perry so unexpected. It all started with a simple interview. People didn't expect Keanu to talk about other celebrities, especially someone as well-known as Matthew Perry. Over the years, rumors had floated around about who he was friends with, but Keanu rarely commented. When the interview aired, the world seemed to pause for a moment. Fans, media outlets, and social media all exploded with curiosity. What could he possibly say? What secret or story was he going to reveal about Matthew Perry, the beloved actor famous for his role on a show that had touched millions? Keanu didn't waste time with small talk. He started by mentioning how he and Matthew had crossed paths many years ago. Their first meeting wasn't glamorous or dramatic. It was quiet, ordinary even. They met through mutual friends at a small gathering. Keanu remembered the moment vividly. Matthew had a smile that was both inviting and mischievous, a combination that made it easy to feel at ease around him. They had spoken about nothing important at first, just the kind of small, everyday things that form the beginning of many friendships. But for Keanu, that moment stayed with him. It was the start of a bond that would mean much more than either of them could have known. As the interview continued, Keanu's words took a more personal tone. He spoke about how rare it was to find someone in Hollywood who truly understood what it meant to be living life in the public eye while dealing with private struggles. He described Matthew not just as a fellow actor, but as a person who had a genuine heart. There was no exaggeration or dramatization in his speech, just honesty. Keanu wanted the world to understand that the people behind the cameras, behind the laughter, often had battles that were invisible to the public eye. The audience could almost see the admiration in his voice as he recalled the moments they shared. He told a story about a time when Matthew had been going through a difficult period. Keanu didn't go into details that would invade privacy or hurt anyone, but he painted a picture of resilience and humor. Even in the toughest times, Matthew found a way to make people around him feel lighter, to bring a sense of warmth and laughter into the room. Keanu's storytelling was simple but powerful, capturing the essence of a friendship built on trust and understanding. What made the story even more compelling was the way Keanu spoke about the ordinary, quiet moments that most people would overlook. They weren't traveling together to film premieres or attending lavish parties. Instead, they shared simple dinners, long conversations about life, and moments of laughter that came from the most unexpected places. Keanu explained that these were the moments that truly mattered. They were not meant for the cameras, not meant to be shared with the public, but they were the moments that defined the friendship. It was this perspective that made people stop and think. In a world obsessed with fame and spectacle, Keanu reminded everyone that genuine human connection was priceless. The interview also touched on how fame affected both of them differently. Keanu described the challenges of maintaining a sense of self when the world always had an opinion about who you were. He mentioned that Matthew had faced similar struggles, often under more intense public scrutiny because of the enormous popularity of his show. What struck Keanu was Matthew's ability to remain kind and grounded despite it all. He spoke about how inspiring that was, not in a way that praised or idolized, but in a way that recognized the effort it took to be a good person while navigating fame. One of the most striking aspects of Keanu's recounting was his humility. He never positioned himself as the hero of the story. Instead, he focused on the lessons learned and the small ways they supported each other. There was no need for dramatic declarations or emotional outbursts. Keanu's quiet reflection created a sense of authenticity that made the audience feel like they were listening to a friend talk about someone they genuinely cared for. It was raw in its simplicity, yet profound in its impact. As the interview continued, Keanu shared how their friendship had evolved over time. They didn't see each other constantly, and life had taken them on different paths, but the bond remained. He spoke about the importance of keeping in touch, of checking in on one another even when schedules were hectic and lives were busy. He highlighted that true friendship wasn't measured by frequency of contact or shared experiences in the spotlight, but by the depth of understanding and support. For many viewers, this was a refreshing perspective. In a culture obsessed with appearances and social media validation, Keanu was reminding everyone that real connections were built quietly, with patience and care. The world responded immediately. Social media lit up with comments praising Keanu for his sincerity and the way he spoke about Matthew. Fans felt they were seeing a side of both actors that rarely reached the public. There was admiration, surprise, and a collective sense of warmth as people processed the interview. The idea that a Hollywood friendship could be so genuine, so grounded, resonated with many. It was a moment that made people pause and reflect on their own friendships, the ones that mattered most in their lives. Throughout the conversation, Keanu's tone remained calm and reflective. He didn't seek attention or validation for what he said. He simply shared his truth, giving viewers a glimpse into a world usually hidden behind the glitter of Hollywood. And in doing so, he reminded everyone that celebrities are human too, capable of deep friendship, vulnerability, and kindness. It was this humanity, this honesty, that made the statement about Matthew Perry so staggering. It wasn't shocking because it was scandalous or dramatic. It was staggering because it was real. By the end of the interview, the audience felt a sense of intimacy, as if they had been allowed into a private corner of Keanu's life. They understood a bit more about him, and a bit more about Matthew Perry, and the world saw that beyond the fame and the roles, there were two people who valued each other's presence, who shared laughter, understanding, and quiet support. It was a story that didn't need exaggeration to be compelling. The simplicity of the friendship and the sincerity with which it was shared made it unforgettable. People continued to talk about it for days. News articles, online discussions, and video clips of the interview circulated widely. Yet what stayed with viewers wasn't the media frenzy, but the message embedded in Keanu's words. He reminded everyone that behind the public image, behind the success and accolades, there are real people navigating life, forming meaningful connections, and trying to support each other through it all. In a way, it was a gentle nudge to the world. Pay attention to the people around you. Cherish genuine relationships and recognize the quiet strength and kindness. Even those who had never been fans of either actor found themselves drawn to the story. It wasn't just about Hollywood celebrities anymore. It was about the universal experience of friendship, understanding, and respect. Keanu's narrative had a way of crossing boundaries, touching hearts and making the audience think about their own lives and relationships. It was a reminder that sometimes the most profound stories are the ones told simply, without pretense or drama, and that even in a world filled with spectacle, sincerity can shine the brightest. In the end, the interview left everyone with a lasting impression. Keanu's words about Matthew Perry were more than just a celebrity comment. They were a glimpse into a genuine human connection that stood out in a world too often obsessed with surface-level appearances. It was a story that felt personal, real, and deeply relatable. And for many, it was a rare reminder that true friendship, quiet understanding, and genuine care are treasures that go beyond fame, beyond recognition, and beyond the public eye. Over the years, Keanu Reeves and Matthew Perry had developed a friendship that went beyond the usual casual connections in Hollywood. While most people saw them as actors who occasionally crossed paths at events or shared mutual acquaintances, the truth was that their bond was built quietly, patiently, and with genuine care. Keanu often reflected on how rare it was to find someone in the entertainment world who truly understood the balance between fame and private life. For him, Matthew was that person. It wasn't a friendship built on extravagance or public appearances. Instead, it grew from small moments, the kind that don't make headlines but stay in memory. They shared meals at quiet restaurants, spent long hours talking about life, and even found comfort in sitting together without the need for conversation. Keanu described these moments as meaningful, explaining that sometimes the most important connections don't come from words or actions, but simply from being present for each other. Keanu remembered the first time he realized their friendship was more than just casual acquaintance. They were at a mutual friend's small gathering, surrounded by people who didn't know them personally. Everyone else was engaged in loud conversations or trying to impress each other. But Keanu noticed how Matthew quietly offered support to those around him, making them feel welcome and comfortable. There was no pretense, no need to shine in the spotlight. Keanu was struck by the simplicity and kindness Matthew showed. That moment stayed with him because it revealed the character of the person he was getting to know. As their friendship deepened, Keanu learned more about the struggles Matthew faced. Hollywood could be a harsh place, and both men had seen it from different angles. Keanu spoke about how important it was to have someone who understood the pressures of public life, someone who could listen without judgment. Matthew had his own challenges, especially when it came to personal battles that were not known to the public. Yet even in difficult times, Matthew maintained a sense of humor and warmth that helped others feel at ease. Keanu admired that quality and often reflected on it when thinking about what made their friendship special. One story that Keanu shared stood out to many. He remembered a time when Matthew had been going through a particularly rough period. It wasn't something the public knew about, but Keanu had witnessed it firsthand. Instead of letting the difficulties define him, Matthew faced them with courage and an unexpected lightness. Keanu spoke about how Matthew found ways to support others even when he was struggling himself. This selflessness and resilience were qualities that Keanu deeply respected. He explained that it was not about heroism or dramatic gestures, but about the quiet ways people show care for one another. What made their connection even more remarkable was how they communicated without always needing words. Keanu described moments where just being together was enough. They could sit in silence, sharing the same space, and it felt complete. There was a comfort in knowing that someone understood you without explanation, that someone could offer support simply by being present. Keanu said that many people never experience that kind of friendship, especially in a world filled with distractions and superficial connections. They also shared a sense of humor that created a bond between them. It wasn't about loud jokes or playful banter in public. It was the small, private moments that carried laughter and joy. Keanu mentioned a time when something as simple as a shared glance or a witty remark could turn a tough day into a lighter one. These moments were often private, yet they were some of the most meaningful memories in their friendship. The audience listening to Keanu could almost feel the warmth of those experiences, the sense of a connection built on understanding, laughter, and mutual respect. Their friendship wasn't without its challenges, of course. Life in Hollywood often demanded travel, long working hours, and commitments that kept them apart for stretches of time. But even with distance, they made an effort to stay connected. Keanu emphasized that true friendship isn't measured by how often you see someone, but by the consistency of care and attention. Messages, phone calls, and even small gestures of thoughtfulness were ways they maintained their bond. It was a lesson Keanu valued deeply, that relationships require effort, but the effort itself is a reflection of love and respect. Keanu also spoke about the lessons he learned from Matthew. Beyond the humor and kindness, Matthew taught him about resilience, patience, and empathy. Keanu admired how Matthew could face challenges without losing his sense of self or his capacity for compassion. He explained that watching someone navigate life's ups and downs with honesty and grace was inspiring. It reminded him of the importance of staying true to oneself and of supporting friends in ways that mattered most to them. One of the most touching aspects of Keanu's recounting was how he described Matthew's ability to connect with people beyond the public persona. Whether it was a casual conversation with a colleague or a quiet moment with a friend, Matthew treated others with respect and care. Keanu reflected on how rare that quality was, especially in a world that often rewarded appearance over character. For him, it was a reminder that what truly matters in life isn't fame or success, but how we treat the people around us. Keanu's stories also highlighted the importance of vulnerability in friendship. He explained that part of what made their bond strong was the willingness to be open with each other, to share fears, doubts, and moments of uncertainty. Matthew's openness encouraged Keanu to do the same, and in that mutual honesty, their connection grew deeper. The audience could sense that this was not a superficial friendship, but one built on trust, understanding, and the courage to show one's true self. The interview continued with Keanu emphasizing the value of ordinary, everyday experiences. They didn't need grand gestures or dramatic events to strengthen their friendship. It was in the small acts of kindness, the quiet check-ins, and the shared laughter that their bond grew. Keanu wanted people to understand that meaningful connections are often found in simplicity. There is a beauty in ordinary moments, he said. Moments that don't make the headlines but leave a lasting impact on the heart. As the conversation unfolded, it became clear that Keanu's admiration for Matthew was rooted in genuine respect. He didn't speak in hyperbole or exaggeration. Every word reflected authenticity, The friendship was a reminder that even in an industry obsessed with appearances, real human connections could thrive. Keanu's reflections painted a picture of a relationship that was nurturing, supportive, and deeply human. Listeners were captivated not by scandal or gossip, but by the humanity behind the story. Keanu's words brought to life the quiet beauty of friendship, the understanding, the care, and the moments of shared humanity that define it. Fans responded with warmth, praising Keanu for sharing a side of himself and Matthew that the public rarely saw. The story resonated because it was universal. Everyone could relate to the need for a friend who understands, supports, and shares life's ups and downs. Throughout the interview, Keanu remained humble and sincere. He didn't seek praise or validation. He simply wanted to honor the friendship he valued so deeply. By focusing on the person behind the public image, Keanu invited the audience to see Matthew as more than a famous actor. He portrayed him as a friend, a kind soul, and a person whose presence brought warmth and meaning into his life. In the end, the story of their friendship became more than a Hollywood anecdote. It was a lesson in patience, empathy, and the power of quiet support. Keanu's reflections reminded the audience that friendship is a treasure, often found in the smallest gestures and the simplest moments. The bond between him and Matthew was proof that genuine connection transcends fame, public perception, and the pressures of the world. As people discussed the interview for days, the message remained clear. True friendship is rare, valuable, and worth cherishing. Keanu's words encouraged fans to reflect on their own relationships, to appreciate the people who make life richer, and to remember that kindness and understanding can leave a lasting impression. Through his recounting of shared experiences, laughter, and quiet support, Keanu painted a vivid picture of a friendship that was not just surviving, but thriving in its authenticity and humanity. It was this authenticity, the simple yet powerful way Keanu spoke about Matthew, that left a lasting impact. The audience could sense the depth of their connection, the shared memories, and the mutual respect that defined their relationship. In a world full of noise, drama, and spectacle, Keanu's story was a gentle reminder that the most meaningful connections are often quiet, humble, and deeply human. Keanu Reeves often reflected on the challenges his friend Matthew Perry had faced over the years. Hollywood was a world full of bright lights and constant attention, but it could also be harsh and unforgiving. While many saw Matthew as a successful actor with a charming personality, Keanu knew there was more to his story. He spoke about the struggles that Matthew had quietly endured, moments that were unseen by the public but left a deep mark on his life. Keanu's words were filled with empathy and admiration, showing that true friendship was about understanding not only the good times but also the hardships. Matthew had faced personal battles that were both private and painful. Keanu spoke about these struggles without judgment, focusing instead on the resilience and courage his friend had shown. He explained that life in Hollywood often magnified challenges, turning private matters into public discussions. Yet Matthew handled these difficulties with strength, sometimes even finding humor in the darkest moments. Keanu emphasized that it wasn't easy to witness someone you care about go through such struggles, but it also gave him a deeper appreciation for Matthew's character and determination. There was one period that Keanu remembered vividly. Matthew had been dealing with a particularly difficult chapter in his life. While Keanu didn't go into specific details, he conveyed the emotional toll it took and the quiet strength his friend displayed. He spoke about how Matthew managed to face each day with a sense of perseverance and dignity, even when it felt impossible. Keanu described being inspired by the way Matthew never let his struggles define him completely, choosing instead to focus on small victories and moments of joy. This perspective resonated with Keanu and helped him see the importance of supporting friends in both good times and bad. In addition to his personal challenges, Matthew also navigated the pressures of public life. Keanu spoke about the constant scrutiny that came with fame and the impact it could have on mental health. Matthew had to deal with expectations from fans, media, and the industry, often while struggling with private issues. Keanu admired the way he managed to maintain his sense of humor and compassion despite these pressures. He explained that the ability to stay grounded while under such scrutiny was a rare quality, and one that made Matthew's friendship all the more meaningful. Keanu also reflected on how they supported each other during these times. Their friendship wasn't about grand gestures or public displays. It was about quiet encouragement, honest conversations, and showing up when it mattered most. Keanu described moments when he would check in on Matthew, offering a listening ear or simply spending time together without needing to talk about the struggles. It was in these moments of presence and understanding that their bond grew stronger. Keanu wanted the audience to understand that true friendship often reveals itself in the smallest, most subtle ways. There were also lighter moments that balanced the weight of their challenges. Keanu recounted how laughter played a crucial role in their connection. Even in difficult times, Matthew had a way of finding humor in the world around him, creating moments of relief and joy. Keanu described how their shared laughter could transform a heavy day into something more bearable. It wasn't forced or superficial. It was a genuine response to life's absurdities and a reminder that joy could exist even in hardship. These shared moments of humor strengthened their bond and created lasting memories that Keanu cherished. Keanu spoke about the lessons he learned from observing Matthew's resilience. He emphasized the importance of patience, empathy, and self-care, noting that facing struggles with honesty and courage could inspire others to do the same. Matthew's journey showed him that it was possible to endure challenges without losing one's integrity or sense of humanity. Keanu also reflected on how witnessing a friend's perseverance could encourage personal growth, pushing him to be more compassionate and understanding in his own life. One story Keanu shared highlighted the quiet heroism in everyday life. He spoke about a time when Matthew went out of his way to help someone else while dealing with his own difficulties. It was a simple act, but it showed the depth of character and kindness that defined him. Keanu admired this ability to care for others despite personal pain, and he explained that it was a testament to the strength of Matthew's spirit. This story resonated with the audience because it was relatable. It reminded people that true courage often lies in the small, selfless acts that go unnoticed by the world. Keanu also spoke about the importance of listening and understanding in friendship. He explained that part of being a good friend was being present, offering support without judgment and allowing someone to share their experiences at their own pace. Matthew had taught him the value of empathy, of recognizing when words weren't necessary and simply being there for someone who needed it. These lessons went beyond Hollywood. They were lessons about life and the kind of person one could strive to be in any relationship. Another aspect Keanu highlighted was Matthew's ability to maintain hope and optimism. Despite the hardships, Matthew continued to find ways to enjoy life and pursue his passions. Keanu described how inspiring it was to see someone face adversity without giving in to bitterness or despair. This resilience was not only admirable, but also contagious, encouraging those around him to approach life with a similar mindset. Keanu's reflections painted a picture of a friend who was both strong and gentle, someone who balanced personal struggle with care for others. Throughout the interview, Keanu emphasized that these stories were not meant to sensationalize or dramatize Matthew's experiences. He wanted the audience to see the human side of his friend, the qualities that made him special, and the lessons that could be learned from his journey. By sharing these insights, Keanu provided a rare glimpse into the life of someone often viewed only through the lens of fame and media portrayal. The authenticity of his words made the stories resonate deeply with listeners. Keanu's storytelling also highlighted the role of patience in overcoming challenges. He spoke about how both he and Matthew learned to navigate difficult times with persistence and understanding. Life did not always offer quick solutions or easy answers, and the ability to remain steady, compassionate, and hopeful was crucial. Keanu reflected on how these experiences shaped his own outlook on life and reinforced the importance of maintaining strong, supportive relationships. As the conversation unfolded, it became clear that Keanu's admiration for Matthew went beyond their shared experiences in Hollywood. It was rooted in the recognition of his friend's humanity, the courage to face struggles, the generosity of spirit, and the ability to find joy despite adversity. Keanu wanted the audience to understand that these qualities were what truly mattered in life, far more than fame, recognition, or public success. Listeners were moved by the depth of Keanu's reflections. The stories of struggle, resilience, and quiet courage painted a vivid picture of a friendship built on understanding and respect. Fans appreciated the sincerity with which Keanu spoke, feeling as though they were hearing about a friend rather than a celebrity. The emphasis on humanity, kindness, and support created a connection with the audience that went beyond entertainment, touching on universal experiences that everyone could relate to. Keanu also spoke about the importance of balance in life. He explained that facing challenges required not only resilience, but also self-care and moments of joy. Matthew had shown him that it was possible to endure difficulties while still finding time to laugh, to connect with others, and to pursue passions. This balance was essential for maintaining mental and emotional well-being, and Keanu emphasized that it was a lesson that could benefit anyone, not just those in the spotlight. The interview concluded with Keanu reflecting on the lasting impact of their friendship. He spoke about how the experiences they shared, both challenging and joyful, had shaped his own perspective on life. Matthew's resilience, kindness, and authenticity left an enduring impression on him, reinforcing the values of empathy, patience, and compassion. Keanu's words reminded the audience that true friendship is not measured by appearances or achievements, but by the depth of connection, understanding, and support shared between people. Through his stories, Keanu painted a picture of a friendship that thrived despite challenges, distance, and the pressures of fame. It was a friendship rooted in honesty, empathy, and shared humanity. The audience could sense the depth of care and respect between them, and the lessons embedded in their experiences were universal. Keanu's reflections encouraged listeners to appreciate the friendships in their own lives, and to recognize the quiet strength and resilience that often goes unnoticed. In the end, Part 3 of Keanu's story revealed the profound reality behind the public persona of his friend Matthew Perry. It was a reminder that behind the laughter and the roles that entertained millions, there were real people facing struggles, learning, and growing. Keanu's heartfelt words celebrated the courage, kindness, and humanity that defined Matthew, showing the audience that true friendship endures through life's highs and lows and leaves a lasting impact on everyone it touches. Keanu Reeves often reflected on the lessons he had learned from his friendship with Matthew Perry. It was more than just a connection between two actors. It was a relationship that taught him about life, empathy, and the power of genuine human connection. Over the years, Keanu had watched Matthew face challenges, celebrate victories, and navigate the complexities of fame with a grace that left a lasting impression. For Keanu, these experiences were not only meaningful in understanding his friend, but also in shaping his own approach to life. One of the most important lessons Keanu shared was the value of kindness. He spoke about how Matthew consistently showed care and consideration for those around him. It wasn't about grand gestures or public acts of generosity. It was the small, consistent ways he made people feel seen and valued. Keanu often reflected on how these acts of kindness created a ripple effect, influencing everyone who crossed Matthew's path. He realized that being a good friend, a supportive colleague, and a compassionate person didn't require fame or recognition. It required intention and presence. Keanu also spoke about patience. Friendship, he explained, was not always about immediate understanding or instant resolution of conflicts. There were times when Matthew needed space or when life circumstances made it hard to be fully present. Keanu learned to respect that, understanding that patience was a crucial part of any meaningful relationship. He recounted moments when waiting, listening, and offering quiet support without judgment made all the difference. This approach allowed their friendship to grow stronger, even during difficult periods, and it reinforced the importance of being thoughtful and empathetic in all human relationships. Another lesson that stood out to Keanu was the importance of vulnerability. Matthew had taught him that it was okay to show weakness, to share fears, doubts, and uncertainties. True friendship, Keanu explained, was built on honesty and openness. By being vulnerable, both of them were able to connect on a deeper level, understanding each other in ways that went beyond surface-level conversations. Keanu often reflected on how freeing it was to be able to speak openly without fear of judgment, and he realized that this trust and honesty were what made their bond so special. Keanu also highlighted the significance of laughter and joy in sustaining relationships. Even in the midst of challenges, Matthew had an ability to find humor in life and to share that humor with others. Keanu spoke about how laughter created moments of relief, comfort, and connection. It reminded him that friendship wasn't only about serious discussions or support during hard times. It was also about enjoying life together, celebrating simple pleasures, and creating memories that would last a lifetime. This balance of joy and empathy, he said, was what made their friendship enduring. He spoke about the idea of mutual respect, another key lesson from their relationship. Keanu admired how Matthew treated everyone around him with dignity, regardless of their status or role. Whether it was a colleague, a crew member, or a friend, Matthew's respect for others was evident in his actions and words. Keanu explained that this approach inspired him to consider how he treated people in his own life. Respect, he realized, was a cornerstone of any meaningful connection, and seeing it demonstrated so naturally was both humbling and enlightening. Keanu also reflected on the importance of being present for one another. True friendship, he explained, wasn't about grand gestures or constant contact. It was about showing up when it mattered most. He recounted times when just being there, whether in silence, offering a listening ear, or sharing a simple meal, strengthened their bond more than any words could. He emphasized that these moments of presence often carried more meaning than public declarations, and they were a testament to the depth of their connection. For Keanu, this lesson was invaluable, reinforcing the idea that actions often speak louder than words. Another important lesson was about resilience and perseverance. Keanu spoke about how Matthew faced personal struggles and challenges with determination and courage. Rather than allowing difficulties to define him, Matthew approached life with a sense of hope and a willingness to keep moving forward. Keanu explained that witnessing this resilience was inspiring, showing him the importance of facing adversity with integrity and a positive outlook. It reminded him that life would inevitably present obstacles, but the way one responded to them could shape not only personal growth, but also the quality of relationships. Keanu also discussed the role of empathy in their friendship. He described how Matthew was able to understand and respond to the emotions of others with sensitivity and care. This empathy wasn't limited to personal interactions. It extended to fans, colleagues, and even strangers. Keanu realized that empathy was a skill that could be cultivated, and that it had the power to create meaningful connections and foster understanding in a world that often felt divided. He saw in Matthew an example of how genuine concern for others could make a profound difference in people's lives. He also highlighted the importance of trust. Over the years, Keanu had come to understand that trust was the foundation of any lasting friendship. He spoke about how both he and Matthew had built a relationship where honesty and reliability were paramount. Knowing that he could rely on Matthew and that Matthew could rely on him created a sense of security and stability in a world that often felt unpredictable. This trust allowed them to share their experiences, challenges, and joys openly, strengthening their connection over time. Keanu reflected on how their friendship had taught him about humility. Despite Matthew's fame and achievements, he remained grounded, approachable, and authentic. Keanu admired this quality deeply, understanding that humility was not about downplaying accomplishments, but about maintaining a genuine perspective on oneself and one's place in the world. This lesson encouraged Keanu to approach his own life with humility, appreciating both successes and failures without letting ego dominate his interactions. Another lesson Keanu valued was the idea of support without expectation. He explained that Matthew had a way of offering help, encouragement, and understanding without seeking anything in return. This selflessness was a powerful example of how friendship could be nurtured through giving rather than demanding. Keanu realized that genuine support often went unnoticed, but it left a lasting impact on those who received it. Observing this quality in Matthew inspired Keanu to be more mindful and generous in his own relationships. Keanu also emphasized the importance of gratitude. He spoke about how their friendship reminded him to appreciate the people who made life meaningful, from close friends to casual acquaintances who brought moments of joy. Gratitude, he said, was a simple yet powerful way to acknowledge the value of human connection and to nurture it over time. By expressing appreciation, Keanu believed, one could strengthen bonds and create a more compassionate and caring environment. The interview continued with Keanu reflecting on the idea of shared growth. He explained that true friendship involved learning from each other, challenging each other, and evolving together. Matthew had taught him about patience, resilience, empathy, and joy, while Keanu hoped that he had provided similar support and insight. This mutual growth, Keanu noted, was one of the most rewarding aspects of their friendship, highlighting that relationships are not static, but dynamic and transformative. Keanu also discussed the importance of authenticity. He explained that the most meaningful connections were those where both people could be their true selves without fear of judgment or pretense. Matthew's authenticity inspired him to embrace his own true self and to encourage others to do the same. This lesson reinforced the idea that relationships built on honesty, respect, and genuine understanding were the ones that endured and left the deepest impact. Throughout the conversation, Keanu's tone was reflective and sincere. He did not seek attention or admiration. He simply wanted to honor the lessons he had learned from his friend. Each story and example highlighted the human qualities that mattered most: kindness, empathy, patience, resilience, and authenticity. By sharing these lessons, Keanu offered the audience a glimpse into a friendship that was deeply meaningful. Not because of fame or public recognition, but because of the values and care that defined it. As the audience listened, they could sense the depth of the connection and the profound impact it had on Keanu's life. The lessons he shared were universal, applicable to anyone seeking meaningful relationships. Fans and viewers were inspired by the idea that friendship could be a source of learning, growth, and joy. Keanu's reflections encouraged people to cherish the friendships in their own lives, to be present, supportive, and understanding, and to recognize the quiet power of kindness and empathy. By the end of Part 4, it was clear that the story was not just about Hollywood or celebrity life. It was about humanity, about the lessons that friendships teach us, and about the enduring impact that one person can have on another. Keanu's words celebrated the depth of his bond with Matthew Perry, highlighting the values and experiences that made their relationship meaningful and inspiring. In a world often focused on surface-level success, Keanu's reflections reminded everyone that the true treasures of life are found in authentic connections, shared experiences, and the lessons learned from those we care about deeply. As Keanu Reeves reflected on his friendship with Matthew Perry, he realized that the impact of their bond went far beyond the moments they shared together. It was a friendship that had shaped his perspective on life, relationships, and the importance of compassion. While they had faced challenges, celebrated victories, and navigated the complexities of fame, the essence of their connection was rooted in something far deeper: human understanding and care. Keanu wanted the world to know that Matthew's legacy was not only in the characters he portrayed, but in the quiet, meaningful ways he touched the lives of those around him. Keanu often thought about the private moments they had shared. They were not always dramatic or eventful, but they carried a sense of intimacy that made them unforgettable. Simple conversations over dinner, quiet walks, or moments of silence spent together were the experiences that left the most profound impressions. Keanu believed that these ordinary moments often held extraordinary value, shaping their friendship in ways that fame and public attention never could. It was a reminder that life's most important connections often happen away from the spotlight, in the quiet spaces where people truly see one another. He also reflected on how Matthew's resilience had influenced him. Facing personal struggles, whether private challenges or public scrutiny, Matthew had demonstrated a strength that was both inspiring and humbling. Keanu admired the way his friend approached life's obstacles, often with humor and a refusal to be defined by hardship. It was this resilience, coupled with empathy and kindness, that left a lasting impression on everyone who knew him. Keanu realized that witnessing someone navigate life with integrity and warmth was a lesson in itself, teaching him how to approach his own challenges with grace. Another aspect that Keanu highlighted was Matthew's ability to create meaningful connections with others. Whether it was friends, colleagues, or strangers, he had a way of making people feel valued and understood. Keanu described how Matthew's attentiveness, humor, and genuine care fostered trust and respect. He explained that these qualities were rare, especially in an industry where surface-level interactions often dominated. Matthew's approach to relationships, Keanu said, was a reminder that authentic human connection required intention, presence, and a willingness to understand others. Keanu often recalled moments of laughter shared with Matthew. Even during difficult times, humor played an essential role in sustaining their friendship. Laughter, he explained, was not just a way to lighten the mood. It was a bond that brought comfort, relief, and joy. Keanu remembered times when a simple joke or a shared moment of amusement could transform a heavy day into something more bearable. These instances highlighted the importance of finding joy amidst life's challenges and showed how shared experiences of happiness could strengthen bonds between people. He also spoke about the significance of support in their friendship. Keanu explained that being there for someone did not always require grand gestures or dramatic displays. Sometimes it was as simple as listening, offering a quiet presence, or sharing a moment of understanding. Matthew had shown him the power of consistent, genuine support, demonstrating that the small ways people care for each other often have the most lasting impact. Keanu emphasized that these forms of support were a cornerstone of meaningful relationships and a reflection of true friendship. Throughout their time together, Keanu had observed Matthew's humility. Despite his fame and accomplishments, Matthew remained grounded, approachable, and authentic. Keanu admired this quality deeply, noting that humility was not about downplaying success but about remaining true to oneself while treating others with respect. This lesson influenced Keanu's own approach to life, reminding him that personal character and integrity were more important than public recognition. It was a value that both inspired and guided him in his interactions with others. Keanu also reflected on the power of empathy in their relationship. He described how Matthew could intuitively understand the feelings and needs of those around him. This empathy extended beyond friends and family to anyone he encountered, creating a sense of warmth and understanding. Keanu explained that observing this quality in his friend reinforced the importance of being attentive, compassionate, and responsive to others. Empathy, he believed, was a key ingredient in building strong, lasting relationships, and Matthew had exemplified it in the most authentic way. Another lesson Keanu valued was the importance of resilience combined with hope. Matthew had faced difficult times, both privately and publicly, yet he maintained a sense of optimism and determination. Keanu described how this balance of strength and hope inspired him to approach life's challenges with a similar mindset. It was not about ignoring difficulties, but about finding ways to navigate them while remaining compassionate, grounded, and true to oneself. This lesson was central to the way Keanu viewed friendship, support, and personal growth. He also reflected on the idea of legacy. For Keanu, Matthew's legacy was not just about his career or public accomplishments. It was about the way he touched people's lives, the lessons he imparted through actions and character, and the meaningful connections he nurtured over time. Keanu wanted the audience to understand that a person's true legacy lies in the positive impact they have on others, and Matthew had left a lasting mark in this regard. This perspective added depth and significance to their friendship, highlighting the human aspects that often go unnoticed. Keanu spoke about the importance of being present in relationships. He explained that friendship was not measured by frequency of contact or shared public appearances, but by the quality of attention and care. Matthew had demonstrated this by consistently showing up in ways that mattered, whether through conversation, quiet support, or shared experiences. Keanu emphasized that these moments of presence, though sometimes unnoticed by the outside world, were fundamental to building trust, connection, and enduring bonds. Another reflection Keanu shared was about gratitude. He realized that his friendship with Matthew had taught him to appreciate the people who enrich life, from close friends to casual acquaintances who brought joy and understanding. Gratitude, he said, was a simple yet powerful tool for nurturing relationships and acknowledging the value of human connection. By expressing appreciation and recognizing the contributions of those around him, Keanu had learned to cultivate a deeper sense of respect and empathy in all his interactions. Keanu also highlighted the concept of mutual growth in friendship. True connection, he explained, involved learning from each other, challenging one another, and evolving together. Matthew had taught him about patience, resilience, kindness, and joy, while Keanu hoped that he had provided similar insights and support. This mutual growth was one of the most rewarding aspects of their bond, showing that meaningful relationships are dynamic and transformative. They allow individuals to become better versions of themselves while fostering understanding and care. He reflected on authenticity as a vital element of friendship. Being genuine, honest, and true to oneself, Keanu explained, was essential for building trust and meaningful connections. Matthew had exemplified this quality, inspiring Keanu to embrace his own authenticity and encourage others to do the same. Authenticity allowed their friendship to flourish, creating a safe space where both could share experiences, emotions, and thoughts without fear of judgment. Keanu also considered the importance of balance in life. Friendship, he said, required attention to both support and joy, struggle and celebration. Matthew had demonstrated this balance by maintaining resilience during hard times, while finding moments of laughter, connection, and happiness. Keanu reflected on how observing this approach helped him navigate his own life, teaching him that relationships thrive when care, empathy, and joy coexist. Through all these reflections, Keanu emphasized the human side of his friendship with Matthew. Beyond the fame, public appearances, and career achievements, it was the personal, meaningful moments, the lessons learned, and the mutual care that defined their relationship. Keanu wanted the audience to understand that true friendship is rare, valuable, and transformative. It requires patience, empathy, authenticity, and consistent presence, and it leaves a lasting impact on everyone involved. As the conversation came to a close, Keanu's words carried a sense of reverence and gratitude. He spoke not only about what Matthew had meant to him personally, but also about the broader message of friendship, kindness, and human connection. The audience could feel the sincerity in his reflections, recognizing that the story was about much more than Hollywood or celebrity life. It was about the values, lessons, and bonds that make life meaningful. By the end of Part 5, it was clear that Keanu's reflections on Matthew Perry were a tribute to the enduring power of friendship. He celebrated the qualities that made his friend special: resilience, empathy, humor, authenticity, and kindness, and highlighted how these qualities had left a lasting impact on his own life. The story reinforced the idea that true friendship is a treasure, one that transcends fame, public perception, and external circumstances. It is found in the quiet moments, the shared understanding, and the lessons learned from caring for and supporting one another. Keanu's words served as a reminder to the audience that meaningful connections shape who we are and leave an indelible mark on our lives. Friendship, he showed, is not defined by outward appearances or recognition, but by the depth of care, understanding, and presence shared between individuals. By sharing his reflections on Matthew Perry, Keanu provided a heartfelt message about the importance of valuing relationships, cherishing shared experiences, and recognizing the profound influence that others can have on our journey through life. In the end, Part 5 captured the essence of a friendship that had endured challenges, celebrated joys, and offered countless lessons. Keanu's story was a testament to the human spirit, highlighting the ways in which genuine connection, empathy, and understanding can create lasting impact. It reminded the audience that the legacy of a person is not measured solely by achievements or fame, but by the meaningful relationships they nurture and the positive influence they leave on those around them. Through his reflections, Keanu paid tribute to Matthew Perry's life, character, and friendship, leaving a powerful message about love, compassion, and the enduring power of human connection.